If you're someone who tears up easily, I bet you've been told at some point that it's a weakness. But what if science actually says it's the exact opposite? Let's get into the real psychology behind our tears.
I mean, how many of us grew up hearing this exact phrase? Stop crying, be strong. It's this message that just gets hammered into us, right? From a super young age, we're taught that tears equal weakness.
But here's the big question. What if that advice is just completely wrong? What if crying isn't a sign of weakness at all, but actually a sign of a really specific kind of strength?
All right, so let's just dive in and tackle that huge misconception head on. It's time to look past everything we've been told and, see what the science actually has to say about emotional tears.
Okay, first off, think about this. It's a fundamental fact. Humans are the only species on the entire planet that cry emotional tears. Just let that sink in for a second. Nature gave this unique ability only to us, which is a pretty huge clue that it serves some kind of vital purpose, right?
So, the most important thing to get here is this. If you find yourself tearing up, it's not a flaw. It's not some bug in your system. It's actually your emotional hardware working exactly as it was designed to. It's a feature, not a bug.
Okay, so let's dig into the science of it all. What's actually happening behind your tears? Well, psychologists point to three main factors that really explain why some of us are just more prone to crying than others.
You can think of these as the three pillars of emotional sensitivity. It all starts with deeper emotional processing, which then leads to higher levels of empathy, and the whole thing is supported by a really responsive nervous system. Let's break each one of those down. First up, deeper processing. So if you're someone who cries easily, it's probably because your brain's emotional centers, we're talking about areas like the amygdala, are just more sensitive to what's going on emotionally. This means you don't just feel things, you feel them faster and a whole lot more intensely. It's almost like you have this built-in, high-def emotional radar.
Okay, next up is empathy. Now, we all kind of know what empathy is, right? It's that ability to understand and actually feel what another person is going through. But for people who are more tear-prone, it goes way beyond just observing someone's emotions from a distance. It's more like absorbing them.
What's happening in your brain is pretty amazing. It's like it's literally building a bridge into that other person's experience, mirroring their feelings. And that's exactly why a sad movie or a friend telling you a tough story can feel so incredibly personal, because to your brain, it is personal. And that brings us to our third pillar, your nervous system. Crying is, believe it or not, a biological tool. It's your body's natural way of hitting a reset button. When you cry emotional tears, your body actually releases stress hormones, like cortisol, and at the same time, it releases feel-good endorphins. So get this, crying isn't about losing control, it's your body's built-in way of getting control back.
All right, so now we get the why behind it all. Let's talk about the hidden strengths. What are the actual upsides to processing your emotions so deeply?
When you actually let yourself process emotions instead of just shoving them down, some pretty incredible things start to happen. You end up living more authentically. You build way stronger emotional bonds with people. Your body actually gets better at managing stress. And this is the one that might surprise you. You build greater long-term resilience.
And this all leads to a really crucial shift in how we look at this. Society might tell us that being sensitive is the same as being weak, but psychology, it sees it in a totally different light, as a form of emotional sophistication.
So this is where we get to reframe the whole thing, and it's a powerful one. Seeing this trait not as a flaw, but as your emotional superpower. Because all this sensitivity, it's directly tied to a major ingredient for success in life.
And that ingredient is called emotional intelligence, or EQ for short. Simply put, it's the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions and the emotions of the people around you. It's basically about being smart with your feelings.
And this is why it's such a big deal. Study after study shows that EQ is one of the strongest predictors of success in life. I mean, stronger than IQ, stronger than just raw talent. It's the absolute foundation for great leadership, clear communication, and healthy relationships.
So think about it. If you're someone who feels things deeply, you've already got a natural head start here. That sensitivity is the raw material for building high emotional intelligence. Your tears aren't holding you back at all. They're actually the foundation for your growth.
Now, it's important to note, of course, that tears aren't always about deep emotion. Sometimes our bodies just trigger them for purely physical reasons. You could be dehydrated, stressed out, dealing with hormonal shifts, or even just feeling overstimulated. This doesn't take away from the emotional side of things, it just shows how connected everything is. It's all just part of being human. And I'm willing to bet that if you're someone who feels things deeply, you've had this thought before. Why can't I just be tougher? Why do I have to feel everything so much? But let's try to flip that script. Maybe the world doesn't need another person who's tough because they've learned to shut down their feelings. Maybe, just maybe, what the world really needs is the version of you that feels everything fully. The you that connects deeply and understands things intuitively. So the next time you feel those tears welling up, try to remember this. You don't have to apologize for them. They're just a sign that your heart is open, that your empathy is switched on. In a world that so often tells us to shut down and numb out, feeling deeply isn't a weakness. It really truly is a superpower.